out than to man up. It's far easier to simply say, I've got a broken leg. I'm not going to continue running. I've got no money, so I'm not going to continue trying to pursue my dream. It's easy to simply say that. But at the end of the day, it's never those things. It's your gut. It's what your gut is telling you. It's your fear that you have to accomplish and that you have to destroy from within. You have to accomplish beyond your fears. You've got to push past it. I think much of the depression we see in men is because they haven't become as significant in their life's pursuits as they would like to. That depression oftentimes turns into hate and resentment. It's shown oftentimes in hatred towards others and snide comments and bitterness towards the family. It's often shown in doing a little less well on your job. You're gypping the man, and that makes you feel better. But how can you truly call yourself a full, successful person if you haven't lived up to the dreams you have for yourself? If you can't look yourself in the mirror, not the man, not your boss, not those people who have all of these external expectations, but if you can't go in the mirror and say, I am accountable to yourself, if you can't be real with yourself when you look in the mirror, what have you got if you don't have your integrity? If you're not honest with yourself about what you're doing, then how can you make a change to do better? I encourage you, men, to stop today making excuses for a life that you've led up to today. If it isn't what you want it to be, it's time to change it. Get in the mirror. There are times when I know I stand in the mirror and I don't like what I see. But it's only going to change if I change it. It's only going to change if I believe that a change is necessary. And when I give up on excuses and begin to invest in myself, that moment is the defining moment when you begin to love yourself. That moment is the moment that is required for you to push beyond your habits, push beyond your addictions, push beyond your depression, and begin to steer the course of your life in the direction it should go. How often do you go to a store and you get a substandard product, or go to a restaurant and get a substandard service, and you tip the waiter and say, yay, 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 that was wonderful? Well, I'm telling you to go in the mirror and see what kind of life you've given yourself. I'm asking, do you need to give yourself a refund on your own life? Do you need to take a good look and say, man, I need to make a change? If you can answer yes to that question, then do it. Be the change that you so desperately want. Be it. Look inside yourself and find your calling. Does a bird question whether or not it should fly? Does a dolphin question, or a fish question whether or not it should swim? Its ministry is doing what it's called to do. A lot of times it seems like the only people who are confused about their purpose are human beings. I question that. Why do those members of the animal kingdom know their calling and do it every day without question? Birds sing, dolphins swim, birds fly, trees blow in the breeze. But yet we don't know our callings? How is that? We have to start looking within ourselves and then looking to our Creator. I know many who listen to this don't believe in a God or a superior creator. They don't believe in that. Well, that's fine. I challenge you to find your purpose however you need to find your purpose. Be all that you can be. Contribute something. Let the human situation. Let your humanity create something that human beings can benefit from. Let your life be something more than simply breathing, eating, and consuming. If you look at our social media society today, we have so much information. We are able to watch just about anything we want to see. We can see people doing amazing things. The interesting thing is those amazing things that they're doing are broadcast on social media, but it wasn't created by sitting on social media. I challenge each and every one of you today to take some time to give that gut check and say, hey, am I the one who's watching people be amazing? Or am I the one that people are watching be amazing? There's a big difference in those two sentences. I believe that in order for each of you to be the very best you and to have the very fullest of lives, that it takes that moment of realization that life may not have given you every little advantage, but it is not the person who just has advantages that is successful. There are so many stories of people who have not had money, not had good looks, not had a lot of things, the best of upbringings, but it's what you do with what you've been given that defines you as a person. I share a story, and it's easier for me to borrow from my own experience because I know it so intimately. But what's very interesting is a few years ago, I went through a very big setback. I went through the setback of having a divorce, something that I never, ever wish on anyone. It's the worst thing, one of the worst things in life you can go through. And it was a rather nasty one. The person that I had selected for my life's mate was very bitter and decided to keep some of my possessions. In particular, as a musician, I had a studio of musical instruments and things that I spent most of my time enjoying. And day after day, I would deal with the misery of that marriage by immersing and submerging myself in this studio. It was the way that I was able to continue living a life that really wasn't up to my fullest potential. Gut check now, guys. I'm speaking about my own experience. No longer am I talking about other people's experience. I'm saying I wasn't living up to my fullest potential. I was letting my family down by not choosing to be all I could be, letting someone else's impression of me define me. Not her fault, my fault. She didn't know any better, but I didn't have to acquiesce to it. I could have risen above it. I could have chosen to be more than the expectation, the low expectation of that person. We oftentimes will say, well, because of that bad person in our lives, I just didn't reach my fullest potential. And for 10 years, I wrote no music. For 10 years, my heart was empty. I played other people's music, played for church, arranged commercials, but I didn't live to my fullest because there was no song in my heart. Well, that woman took all my musical instruments, took every dime that I had. Everything that I had was gone. I went to visit my father, and he actually had to pay for the trip for me to be able to get there. And I remember walking into his home and seeing an old dusty classical guitar, nylon string guitar, sitting over in the corner. And as that 3-stringed guitar sat in the corner, it was the only musical instrument that I thought, maybe my dad might give me that so I can play my depression away. And I remember sitting with that guitar and realizing that I couldn't play guitar. I was a keyboard player. I played horns and all that kind of thing. I wasn't a stringed instrument. I couldn't play a single stringed instrument. And I remember being very, very depressed that God allowed this terrible woman to take away the gift of music from me. And I pouted, and I was angry. I was angry at the world. I was angry at her. I was angry at God. And I remember thinking, how in the world could a great God in heaven take away my very existence as a musician? How could he let that happen? He knows how important this is. He let that wicked woman get away with it. How? What a hateful God and a hateful woman he created. And I was bitter. And it was easy to stay there. But when I got that guitar home and I restrung it, I remember thinking, this is really hard. I was so accustomed to sitting down at the piano and letting music flow from my fingers at will. Whatever thought I had would be immediately transferred to those keys, and it would sound like I heard in my head. Not so much when you start a new instrument. I remember thinking, this is a step back to my childhood. It was a struggle. And I got so bitter that I put it down and I said, I'm never picking it up again. And I was angry at God, and I put my fist up in the air and I said, you let this happen to me, and I hate it. But I'm going to tell you something about this story. This is a true story, and I want you to hear it. I prayed. I got down on my knees and I said, I'm sorry. If this is all that I have, and this is the only instrument that I can give the God of heaven praise on, so be it. So be it. So I said to God, make music from it. Give me the gift. If you will bless it, I will play it. If you have just given me this, then bless this little thing. If this is all that I get, I'm grateful for it. 3 days later, I wrote my first song on that guitar and continued to write music on that guitar day after day after day. A miraculous gift from the God of heaven. That God of heaven who allowed those circumstances touched me with a gift I never would have pursued. He gave me something in the midst of all of my loss, something that I was able to take with me, something that I could go to nursing homes and play for those old people who hadn't heard a good melody in a while, something that I could spend hours with, quietly nursing my depression and wounds. And then day after day after day, I watched him create music in my heart, which was transferred to that instrument. I'm not telling you that because I'm so excited about that instrument. I'm telling you that because it took making a change in my thinking and being willing to follow the God of heaven. Being willing to allow something different, a different thinking, to create a different outcome. Fast forward 1 year. After losing everything, I had to move. I was staying with my father in his home, trying to recover after a nasty divorce. And I remember having another opportunity to continue playing guitar. And finally, when I got a job and I was able to at least get an apartment, in that apartment complex, the Nashville Songwriters Association met. And in that clubhouse, on a day when I was trying to upload a song I had written, it happened that they had a meeting. A divine appointment, I would call it. And I made some pretty